Hello everyone, Cheshire the Cat on the scene with day 2 of the investigation. Here we return to the Wright & Company law offices. Welcome back, Cheshire. Ah, Jace! Okay, I'm gonna say this here because I had a theory cross my mind. You know what? I'm gonna do the investigation, Jace. Do you think, if you think you're gonna be awake a while? I'm annoyed, but that's normal when building and crafting of the mines. Building and the crafting of the mines? Question mark. I'm curious. If you're willing to wait a little bit longer, I'll share my theory after the investigation, because I want to get some evidence behind my own theory here. It's 5 p.m. Yes, it is 5 p.m. It's 5:30 p.m. Don't worry, mate. All right.
Mr. Wright, so, what's going on with the case, anyway? I'm a little confused.
Huh? Well, let's see. What is going on? The victim, Detective Bruce Goodman, was stabbed to death after 5 p.m. on the 21st. No, he was somewhere between 4 and 5 p.m. He died in the prosecutor's parking lot and the police department's evidence room. What's this and the evidence room part? The prosecutor's office and the police department are 30 minutes apart by car. Actually, that just helped me on what I was thinking about.
Well, that's what we're going to find.
That's what we're going to find out. Or try to, at least.
All right, let's do it.
Glad she's in good spirits, but I'm not sure she's going to be much help with this.
Don't be so sure, Mr. Wright.
Huh?
Look, we're in this together, right? I'll prove that these thick rimmed glasses of mine aren't just for show. Let's go. Science awaits us.
Also, because you're a Halo fan, I'm pretty close to finishing the first game, and it's been pretty fun. I'm glad! I need to replay the games and, like, remember the story. But I just remember having fun with them. I really want a soundbite on my soundboard. I want, like, 3... I want 2 Halo sounds in particular that I don't have and I'm looking for. The first one being the elite laugh, where just like that whoop, 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 whoop. I want that. I want that. And then the other one being the wow of a grunt running at you with plasma grenades. Okay, and now that there's a pause in the action, I also want to take a moment to say, so between episodes, for the folks on YouTube, a lot happened between recordings, and I'm still very hungry. I haven't gotten dinner yet. So I realized something. There was a question that I didn't ask, and that I feel like I should have. The first one, we already know, the same person was killed in 2 places at the same time. 30 minutes apart by car, which is realistically impossible. But there was a second question that popped into my brain. How did the murder weapon from the first case travel all the way to the second location so that the murders could have... If the murders happened, quote-unquote, allegedly at the same time, how could the murder weapon make it all the way across and be hidden in the muffler at the scene of the second crime? Or rather, the first crime. So, my theory is that the body... We probably put 2 and 2 together on this one quickly. The body was moved, and I'm willing to bet, if I'm right, either Laura Skye did it, or the woman with the lunchboxes did it. Because they are the only 2 people at the scene of the crime who could have moved. The thing that makes it weird is if the body was moved, why was the evidence moved with it? Especially if a body was discovered at both scenes. See, I always call my warthogs pumas. I get super excited whenever I pick up a shotgun when I saw Guilty Spark. So I was, oh my god, Church, we could be best friends forever again. Oh my god, I need to rewatch RVB. Alright, so the thing I want to figure out is how the murder weapon moved.
You know, I really don't think we should worry about the police department murder. There wasn't even a body found there. Who cares?
Yeah, it was only our victim who was killed in the evidence room. No biggie.
Besides, my sister would never do such a thing. I know it.
What if... But then why would Edgeworth's car be involved? That oil drum, was it empty?
The oil drum kicked over by the chief prosecutor was brimming with water. My sister erasing evidence at a crime scene? Never!
Okay, I'm back. I fed the blue switch. Now I just need to scream into the void. Wait, the blue and switch? Wait. Are blue and switch streaming right now? Yes. Ah! Yeah, I got double rated while you were gone. Blue is at least. Ah. That's normal. Oh, you're playing Minecraft. So mind applies in the mind. And then I got double rated, and right as I got double rated, my DoorDash canceled. So I'm crossing fingers that I finally get dinner here soon. I'm too tired to cook.
Is erasing evidence at a crime scene? Never!
Even though she says they don't get along, Emma really likes her sister.
That's not it at all! It's just... we're both professionals at what we do, and I trust her!
Big words for a high school student. Well, whether there was blood on the floor or not, the water that oil drove washed it all away.
Ignore the strength of my science at your own peril, Mr. Wright.
What? Red lens glasses?
What's that grin for? This situation calls for one thing, and that is... luminal testing fluid.
Oh my god! I just need to work, actually. You know, work well. Oh.
Luminal? Blood is sticky stuff, you know. You can't just wash it away with a little water. Even if you can't see it, it's still there.
But wouldn't the police have already done those tests?
Never trust anyone's eyes but your own, Mr. Wright. Just give it a try.
Me? Why do I have to do it?
I'm a minor. I can't even drink yet.
We're testing blood stains with this stuff, not drinking it. Although luminol does contain alcohol, so be careful with what you find with that. Don't use it in the office.
Here, look, I'll lend you these glasses.
Huh? You had an extra pair of those things?
Yeah! Just for blood reaction, just spray luminol on it. Like this, see? Hit enter to spray on. Okay, let's find us some blood stains.
Oh, God. Here. Right there. Oh, that hurts my eyes. I can see her eyes shining behind those glasses. So, is this a blood stain?
It's so... ugh.
Emma, you're shaking.
It's just... this is my first time seeing real blood.
Scientific investigation in action.
Okay, we'll definitely know that this is a blood stain. But doesn't something strike you as odd? Scientifically speaking, of course.
Yeah, why isn't it walking away? What's odd about this scientifically? The amount. Actually, no, the location. No, the amount. The perpetrator and Detective Goodman fought here, right? Don't you think there'd be a little more blood?
I definitely think so. I mean, look at the blood on the sole of the victim's shoe.
It is pretty strange. If they fought here, there'd have to have been more blood than this. Wants to clean room and throw everything away.
No, honey. Don't... Hey, Mr. Wright? I'm gonna mark up the floor plans where we found the bloodstain, okay?
Oh, do I have to do this test now?
See, I'm pretty handy to have around, right?
Yeah, and this stuff's pretty handy too.
I saved up my allowance to buy that.
She's a spray to use.
Can't be sure that the police will reveal all their evidence in court. Sometimes they fail to mention evidence that doesn't fit with their view in the case.
Let's drag that hidden evidence out into the light of day.
Yeah! Feels like we're really investigating a crime now, doesn't it?
Guess I should give this a spray on anything suspicious. Ha!
I wonder how that fluid of yours would react to a nice deli box.
You know, you're looking especially grumpy today. Should I be checking it somewhere else? Anyway.
Miss Star! You only trust your own eyes, hmm? Not bad, you two. This day-old deli box is on the house.
Sorry, it's just that kind of lead and doesn't really get my mouth watering.
About today's trip.
You certainly put me in a tight spot today. My apologies, Miss Star, but...
No, it's okay. It was my fault.
Her bento boxes look so delicious. I know! Oh, sorry, California, Tokyo. Lunch boxes. With jelly donuts and hamburgers. Sliced up thinly. Yes.
No. I witnessed everything from that security room right there. But I was afraid that I wouldn't sound convincing enough, you see. I was wrong to think that. I'm sorry. Sorry? You lied on the witness stand! That's unforgivable! Little girl, don't forget what's important here. Even if the place I witnessed the events from was different, I still saw what I saw. I saw Chief Prosecutor Sky stab a man in cold blood, and the testimony still stands. I swear it on my honor as a detective. She stabbed Goodman. I know this photograph has something important to tell, but what?
Oh god, that hair swap is so cool.
I know. So you were a detective, weren't you, Miss Star? Yes, it was a long time ago. Well, 2 years ago. No matter how hardened the criminal, when they faced me, they coughed it up.
Coughed it up? Yeah, I'm sure they let everything go in your presence, honey.
They confessed. They babbled like babies. You know, I may seem like a demon sometimes, but I can be an angel too.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Every day I dragged the dirt out of their mouths of suspect after suspect. And before long they called me the Cough-Up Queen.
And here I thought someone had gotten food poisoning from your lunches.
And you were let go? Fired? I felt that I had found my dream job when I became an investigator. And if these prim and proper prosecutors hadn't let me go, I'd still be one today. It's all because of that case, the Sl9 Incident.
I can be your angle or your devil oil.
Sl9? Wait, she doesn't mean... Yeah, so she's connected to this. What do you think about this? The Sl9 Incident. It's written on that knife. And on that note. Goodman. Goodman was the head detective on that case, you know. Really? That knife was evidence from that case. The murder weapon. It was due for transferal the very day Goodman was killed. As I suspected, Sl9 isn't over. Not yet. Do you think you could tell us more about the Sl9 incident?
No. Do I have to present the knife too?
This. No, yeah, that's the same. Transferal the day Goodwin was killed.
Yeah, okay, so this is the same.
That picture from the guard room. But even if I get flustered sometimes, she went straight to the scene of the crime. Where's the chain link fence in effort to stop the murder? That's when I took this photo. Yes. In other words, 5 minutes after the crime. Those 5 minutes are the whole problem. The hole in my testimony, as it were. 5 minutes weren't the problem, Miss Starr. You lying was the problem! Listen, little girl. I had my testimony disregarded before, and I wasn't going to have it disregarded again. Just like that time.
I think it's about time you talked to me about this Sl9 incident.
I had one of those up until 2 years ago. Back when you were the conflict queen, right? We found this ID card here in the parking lot. Well, there's no mistaking that. It's definitely Goodwin's. But it's the same ID as the man who was killed at the police department. That's impossible. I wish I could be so sure.
What if they weren't killed at the same exact time? Alright, talk to me, honey.
That incident really opened up my eyes to the truth. We're nothing to them. Disposable. Disposable to who? 2 years ago, it was the biggest case I ever handled. The police and the prosecutors were desperate for decisive evidence. So they didn't solve it? On the contrary, it was solved quite cleanly. The criminal was caught and executed. Executed? Yes, the criminal got what was coming to him. It doesn't get any cleaner than that. The only problem was, they never did find decisive evidence. Not a shred. What? But the criminal got executed, right? On the basis of evidence of a sort. Made up evidence. What? You mean they executed someone with fabricated evidence? The best part came several months after the trial. Every detective involved with the case was dealt with. Some were demoted to patrolmen, others found themselves out of a job. And you were one of those? Myself and one other person you know well. It'd be... Exactly. Detective Jake Marshall. Oops, I mean Police Department Security Detail Officer Jake Marshall.
Huh. Hold the phone. So the people investigating this case, all of them are involved with the previous case. So... what? This is a lot like what happened with Von Karma. It's like a repeat of something that happened years ago. A copycat case. But then... what happened?
As professional detectives, we investigated that case from every angle. Jake was particularly determined. And then it was over, and he was demoted. However, he hasn't forgotten, and neither have I. You haven't forgotten Sl9? There was another side of the case, a hidden side. That's what we're after now. And no one up in their fancy offices can stop us. Wait! Those lunches you sell! There's only one reason I came to sell lunches to this accurse's office. I come here to meet old friends. Boyfriends that can help me investigate. Miss Star's old boyfriends, how many does she have anyway? Just when all the detectives of Sl9 disappeared, we find new evidence. There has to be a connection.
Oops, wrong voice.
So, Rookie. What? It seems like you're serious about investigating this case.
Yes.
Then you should take this. Salisbury steak lunch? I know a certain guy who might help you if you tempt him with this treat.
Excellent for putting Officer Marshall in a good mood. Alright, I got the alert that the order's on their way. Oh.
Miss Starr? Officer Marshall, is he your, are you going out? Why do you want to know? I was just wondering what happened to him. A long time ago when he was helping my sister do cases, he was so nice. He got along so well with my sister, it made me jealous. And he was nice to me too, back then.
This would be when Officer Marshall was a detective.
But now he's so cold. Jake and I are merely cooperating on this investigation. We're putting the past to rest, as it were. Nothing more than that. I see. Thank you.
Officer Jake Marshall. There's one more thing I want to check out here if I can. How do I use the glasses? How do I use this? Yeah, this guy. Don't tell me to bring this with you everywhere you go. So I guess I can only use it when the game tells me to. Well. Otherwise, I would have liked to have checked this for fingerprints, but... Oh well, seems we need to make our way to the good man. Let's see, down in the police department? Where would he be? Let's go check the police department. It's even busier here today than it was yesterday.
The detectives are running around so fast they're blurring!
This doesn't make sense. A detective did get killed here after all.
So the evidence room, the scene of the crime! According to the pamphlet we got at the front desk, here it is!
It's like a kid in an amusement park.
Oh, a real crime scene. Let's go take a look!
You already saw the first one. So, I guess we want to get to the Criminal Affairs Department. Or the guard station? Evidence room entrance, guard station. Oh. What's with the decor in this place? It's very eccentric. That's a lot of booze up there.
According to this pamphlet, this is the guard station for the evidence room.
So beyond that door is the evidence room. The scene of the crime.
It sure seems that way. Oh.
What's wrong?
It's those cacti. They're so prickly, so imposing. It's hard to think straight.
If you can't handle the cacti, stay out of the desert. What I want to know is, if there is a guard station, where's the guard?
I have a feeling I know who he is already.
Yeah, I think I know who he is, too.
Yipes, he's sure prickly. This must be the real deal.
I think just one big one would be sufficient.
These cacti are a lot like my sister, actually.
Huh? You saying your sister's like a cactus? I don't know how to feel about that. I really don't know how to feel about that. How so?
Encased in a cold, rigid shell with spines pointing in every direction.
The sister's theme is so good.
Just like her.
Yeah, I'm loving the music. I'm not so sure I see the resemblance.
It's more an attitude thing than a physical similarity. It's a security guard uniform hanging here.
It looks more like a costume than a uniform, honestly.
Leather jacket, leather pants, leather... What was that thing called again? A punchy, a paunchy, a pinchy... I know! A poochie!
A poncho.
Maybe that wasn't it.
It's a poncho, but I think I'll keep that information myself for the time being. Why is she adorable, though? I I just want to give her a head pat. She's so cute.
Looks like there's a video feed from the evidence room here. There's a light blinking below the monitor. It says recording. I bet we could use this computer to check on who went in and out of there.
Actually, that's really good. Texas. Really?
The swinging door makes the place look like some kind of saloon.
But look, it's nailed shut. Can't get in that way.
Of course not. If you went through here, the cactus would fall over. Ouch!
So maybe more of a yarg myself. I wonder if I'm able to get past here.
Look on the floor! A lasso!
Looks like it's set up to trap something.
A trap? Here? Wait, I know! Maybe someone was trying to catch a wild bull in here, but the lasso missed!
I think this is where the director went all in with the Japanifornia aspect of the game. You sure have an active imagination. The evidence room is beyond that door.
Let's just walk in! It won't open!
You thought it'd be open? I think we need someone's permission to go in there first. Well, darn it, I can't really do a whole lot here. Shoot, I figured he'd be right around here. Where's Texas Man? This place is charged with frantic energies always.
Please. Huh? Wasn't that?
One steak lunch, please! Oh, it's you. Detective Gumshoe.
Now's no time for chit-chat, pal. I'm a busy man. What I really need is a steak lunch from Lunchland. Oh, you mean one of these? Actually, it's not for sale.
Oh. I think I just heard the sound of his heart breaking. Oh! Speaking of giving people hugs and head pats. I'll have to pull out the head pat gif. Editor, can you put the head pat gif right on top of his head? You know what? Here, hold on. I'll help you out. Where is it? Where's my there? I'll just move this up here and expand it a little. And there we go. There we go. He's a hardworking detective. He's earned this. You know, I did it on a whim, but this just summarizes like 2/3 of the game. Oh my god. Why is this image so perfect? Oh my god, that's so good. Alright, give me them head pats back. Oh shoot, I almost moved the whole screen. Clipping poor man's. Alright, give me back the head pats. Give them back, Detective. They're mine. These are mine. These are mine for later. There we go. That just made me happy. That just made my heart melt. Especially with that face and that text. I think I just heard the sound of his heart breaking.
Now's no time for despair. We've caught our criminal, now we just need evidence.
The criminal? You mean...
You heard about the stabbing in the police department evidence room, right, pal?
On the same day that a detective was killed in the prosecutor's parking lot, another detective was killed at the police department? And the perpetrator? Do you have a suspect? Well, there was a suspect. Just arrested him, in fact.
The biggest scandal to hit this station in ages. Everything's topsy-turvy.
But Detective Gumshoe, who was it?
Listen, pal, all I know is I need me a steak lunch pronto. Standing around here isn't gonna fill my belly. Wait, don't leave. If you want to know more, head on down to the detention center, pal. Questioning should be over, so I figure he's down there having a good cry. Later. He ran off to the evidence room. Well, this investigation is off to a running start. Oh my god, what if they think it's Marshall? Well, I will move. I'm gonna have to move over in a hot second. I just got the alert that my food is finally arriving. So I will be right back. Immaculate news. I provide immaculate news. The streamer is being fed. Ah! Also, what did you clip? Why is this image so perfect? Oh my god. You clipped me taking the head pats away, but not me giving them. I see how it is. But yes, if chat does not mind, I am going to devour while I continue solving this case. I've been waiting for a while for food. What Cheshire giveth, Cheshire can taketh away. Exactly. Guess I just moaned over food. Don't judge me. Oh. Okay. Editor? You can cut back in now. Alright, let's head on down to the detention center. Oh, I should probably unmute the... Whoops. Wow, everyone looks deadly serious in here. Well, there was a vicious murder of a detective down at the police department. Yes, but the same detective was also killed at the same time at the prosecutor's lot. Ugh, makes my head hurt. Well, first things first, let's go check out the police department crime scene. Yes, you sound dead set on investigating. But don't mess it up or we could wind up dead. I doubt that anyone wants any more mysteries about dead bodies around here right now. But it doesn't look like anyone's going to help us much either. More importantly, the detention center. Who do we have? His room. Still, I do feel better about things. A little. I mean, they caught the person who stabbed the Detective Goodman, didn't they? Yeah. I guess they did. Just not to go too far down the road right now. Many things will get confusing. Ow. What was that? Sir, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Me, a perpetrator? I'd say I was perpetrated against, sir. That's what I'd say. Oh. I wasn't expecting you. Hi. Greetings, sir. Wait, I know who you are. Excuse me, but is Mr. Edgeworth here on the premises? Didn't I give him like a Rock Lee voice? I'm here, sir, at the request of the chief, sir. I've got your report, sir. Officer Meekins! So you're a guard here at the detention center? No, sir, I am not, sir. I'm a little lost patrolman, like a little lost lamb, sir. Oh, I get it. You're here to deliver a report? No, sir, how should I say this? Wait, he isn't, is he? You, Officer Meekins, you didn't, did you? Perpetrator Meekins reporting, sir! Oh my god, ow. Wait, his hand's all beat up. Just like hers. What? Now this is an unexpected turn of events. You're telling me. Hold up. Can I examine his hand? No, fine. Stop. Sir, I'm a patrolman with general affairs, sir! Sir! How? I can hear you fine, Officer Meekins. I had some business that day, sir, and so I went to the evidence room, sir. But the guard station in front of the room was empty, sir. So normally there's a guard at the evidence room? That's right, sir, because the evidence is kept in the evidence room, sir. So how come they left him keep his megaphone in prison? Yeah, good point. Now the security officer was none other than Officer Marshall. Marshall? Then, sir, I happened to glance at the security room monitor. That's when I saw him, sir. A suspicious person in the evidence room. A suspicious person, sir! A suspicious person! Yow! What the heck is this guy doing? So what happened then? After that, sir, everything went white. I saw red, I blacked out. And when I came to, I was here in the detention center. Hemophobia? How long were you out? Days? Might I ask, what happened to your hand? Sir, there was no one to bandage me, sir. So I did what I could to wrap it up, sir. A bandage on his hand? Yeah, just like Miss Sky. Yet another similarity between this case and the one at the prosecutor's office. Wait, wouldn't he have an alibi because he had to deliver that information? First things first, tell us how you hurt your hand. Well, tells the victim, actually. I don't mean to pry, but you are the perpetrator, correct? You killed Detective Bruce Goodman in the evidence room, right? Sir, please don't look at me with those sad puppy eyes, sir! You have to label me as the perpetrator or victim, sir! Label me the victim! I would, but you happen to be in detention, and alive and well at that. Ah, yes, well, that's true. Sir, I suppose you could say that. Did you know the victim, Detective Goodman? Well, sir, if I had to label him as a stranger or a total stranger, then I'd say he leans heavily on the total stranger side. Can you stop with the megaphone? That actually hurts my ears. So you didn't know him? Sir, I work in a tiny department devoid of light and other creature comforts. I don't know any detectives. So if he was a total stranger, why did you stab him? Sir, I had no intention of killing him, sir. None! Nor do I have any recollection of killing him, sir. Can there be an option to turn that off? At least someone around here is more confused than I am. Alright, now what's up with the hand? About your hand, did that happen during the course of the crime? I'm Cease! Hold on. I'm gonna do a freebie here on this. Cease! Stop with the megaphone! Please! I beg of you! Now that I've let that out of my system. Well, you see, sir, don't you think you should just confess? But, what did I just say? Sir, but, there was nothing I could do. Nothing you could do? Sir, to tell the truth, when it happened, when the detective pointed that knife at me, I just hollered, sir. And the next thing I knew, I was unconscious. The next thing you knew, you were... Huh? Wait. What if Detective Goodman's the one that attacked? And then he stabbed himself. And then, when I opened my eyes, I was alone in the evidence room, sir. All alone. Alone because Detective Goodman had disappeared. What? Huh. Then when I looked down, I was gushing blood from my hand, sir. Oh, the shock, oh, the sorrow, sir. Can you imagine how I felt? Victim's body disappeared? That's some story. What if he wasn't dead? See, we're talking about him as if he were alive.
But we're talking about him as if he were dead, but what if he wasn't? Officer Meekins. This is weird.
Yeek! I'm scared of knives, sir!
It's okay. I just want you to take a look at it.
That's it, sir! That's right, sir! That's the one! I was an apple, sir, in my dream, sir, and I was being peeled!
Second thought, you don't have to look at the knife. He's overreacting to the knife, but I guess he's been through a lot. Okay. Well then, what do you know about this?
Do you think you could take a look at this? Hey! That's it, sir! That's it! That's it! That's it! That's what? My head was a blank until that very moment. But sir, now I remember. I remember now, sir.
You mean you remember what happened?
Correct! That card! That card was the cause of it all!
This ID card?
Exactly, sir! That's exactly it! Nothing can be more exact, sir! Nothing!
My God! I better pry into this one a little deeper. Huh. I want to be sure of one more thing. Officer Meekins, could you take a look at this?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm really sorry, but I have no idea what that is. Maybe you should ask Mr. Edgeworth, sir.
He's passing the buck, Mr. Wright. Takes a special kind of man to pass the buck to Edgeworth. Alright, well, crime details. Can you tell me what it is you do remember?
Well, sir, you might say that I'm a lost little patrolman. A lost little lamb, if you will. I didn't know Mr. Detective Goodman, who was in the evidence room. And that's why you thought he looked suspicious.
And that's why you thought he looked suspicious.
Sir, I entered the evidence room and asked the man to show me his ID card.
Well, that sounds pretty much by the book so far.
That's right, sir. That's what I've been trying to tell you.
So you asked Detective Goodman to show his ID card. What did he do?
That's the thing. He suddenly he pointed a knife at me.
What?
Sir, I assure you I was flustered as you are right now. But I whooped and leapt at him.
Detective Goodman pointed a knife at him? Yeah, this is painting a very different picture.
Do unto others before they do unto you. My own father's words, sir.
What happened then?
Well, my eyes, sir. Everything went white. When I awoke, I was here.
Right. So, Officer Meekins, was it they arrested you? What do you mean, Irma?
When I look at what we know... Now, Officer Meekins didn't know Detective Goodman. And the victim, whom he met at the scene of the crime, didn't show his ID card. In other words, we have no way of knowing if the victim was really the victim.
Huh.
And if this body just disappeared from the evidence room, we don't even know if anyone actually died. That's it, sir. That's what I wanted to say. That is, I did say something along those lines. Huh? But you still ended up here? They told me that it had to be him, sir. On that day, at that time. Detective Goodman was definitely in the evidence room. That's what they said.
Then who... But you don't remember the events clearly.
No, but the videotape is quite clear.
Videotape?
From the security camera. The crime, my crime, the crime I swore to stay about. It's there, it's me, it's on tape. And you waited until now to tell us this? I'm sorry, really sorry, sir. I'll hand over my badge. I don't deserve it.
No thanks, I have my own. I guess we better check out the crime scene. Huh, that opens a big hole in this. Because suddenly, our dead body isn't dead. So, time out. Also, sorry YouTube, you guys didn't know this, but my dinner got delivered and I'm starving.
Hey, Mr. Wright, look who's standing at the Chief of Detectives desk.
It's Police Chief Gann. And you're sure this is all? You know what this means if there's anything missing.
Sir, it's most likely totally perfect. We checked all of his drawers, lockers, garbage cans, bags, coat pockets, hats. Under his seat cushion, behind his computer monitor, inside of his personal coffee machine.
I see. Well, if anything does turn up, you call me right away. Deal?
Yes, sir! We'll scour the place again, sir! Chief of Detectives looks a little flustered.
Right home, my boy. How you been? Swim much?
Oh, Chief Grant, reporting for duty, sir!
I like this guy.
Why are you saluting him, Mr. Wright?
I just noticed the church organ music and the cross on his tie. I'm just gonna... Are you a church? Are you a police representative, or are you a reverend?
Is Edgeworth going to be okay?
Oh, are they? Oh, you know, they're doing a little inquiry committee with him.
Sounds like an inquisition!
Yep, they've had no end of trouble with the boys since last year.
You mean the incident in Gourd Lake?
It doesn't look good having a top prosecutor sit in the defendant's seat, does it? And you got someone else found guilty in that case, right, righto?
Yeah, Von Karma.
A legend he was, undefeated in his 40-year career. But in court, he fixed it so he was caught for forging evidence.
Wait, I didn't do anything wrong. He did forge evidence.
In any case, the prosecutor's office is in a bit of turmoil, you might say. Why, they do just about anything to restore their reputation. Now, depending on what the inquiry committee decides, it could be bad for Worthy.
What?
It's downright odd, I tell you. The detective getting killed on their own turf, too, I mean.
They're being the prosecutors, I assume. Scientifically speaking, it's impossible.
Yes, but that's what the evidence is saying. Goodman was stabbed in 2 locations at the same time. That's what it says.
What evidence is this?
Now, Righto. I can't give away all our secrets just like that. And this in particular, well, it's a little sensitive, and I can't talk about it. I wasn't expecting much anyway. You know, one thing I hate most about all his hiding secrets. Can't stand them. But you know, it's a full-time job just keeping the chief of detectives' trap shut.
Ah, he was the one you were picking on earlier?
Huh? You saw that? Whoops.
I wonder what it was that he wanted Chief of Detectives to do. Let's see if we can kind of discreetly ask him.
Huh. I actually want to ask him about something else. About... Oh wait, I'm doing the wrong thing.
No, I didn't want to take a screenshot.
I guess I'd be backing up. So what can you tell me about the Sl9?
I was wondering, could you take a look at this?
Aha, sorry, righto. I'm through with that stuff right now. Through, I say. Go find the guy who can't sit still out there. The busy one.
Guy who can't sit still. Does he mean Detective Gumshoe?
Either him or the Dancing Blue Badger.
You can't tell me anything about any of this.
He's not gonna look at any of it, huh? Yeah, he's not gonna look at any of it. Alright, well, I may as well move to the detention off. Back to the police department entrance. And then to the guard station. Oh. No? Alright, where's the boss man?
Well, this place is classy as today as it was yesterday.
And I'm sure it'll still be just as classy tomorrow, Emma. Incidentally, Edgeworth's not here.
Sure, he's off doing important investigations.
I hope that's what he's doing. Huh? I guess we'll have to come back. Well, drat. No, not here. Well then, what the... Hi, Reverend. What if I show you this delicious steak? Well, that's what I get. I wonder if he has anything to say about that. He really is not going to help me on this, huh? Well, I guess I'll just examine. I'm sorry you had to see that. What exactly did Cliff want you to do? Bleh, I just had an issue.
Well, you see that? See over there? That's Goodman's desk. He wanted me to check it for anything that might be a clue. They took away every last piece of garbage in the trash can. So nothing belonging to Chief Goodman is still here? Of course not. Well, except for this. What? You kept something? Sure, why not? It's not important. He didn't even finish writing it. It's a lost item report, but it's only half complete. A lost item? Did Detective Goodman lose something? The date is February 21st. Better make a note of that just in case.
Oops, I thought that was all Emma. That's lost item report.
I should really get back to investigating the police department crime scene.
Hold up. So, what was that I literally just picked up, though? Let me check it out. Bruce Goodman, 5'9", 221. Wait, was he trying to report that the knife went missing? Sl9 Sl9. Given his handwriting, that looks about right. So I guess we may as well go back to the guard station. Boy, it would help if I had the ability to go where I wanted to go. I guess the crime scene would be back underground parking lot. No? Well, in the meantime, that food you gave me has probably gone cold by now. What the heck? That thing. See, any ideas? Poor Mr. Edgeworth. You're suggesting I go to check in on Edgeworth, then. Okay. Police was right about that. I think someone at the police department doesn't like Edgeworth. Well, I can think of many people down there that don't like Edgeworth. No? Where are people? Where's anybody? Why is it not letting me go back? It's telling me there's something I still need to do. Maybe I should show this to him and see if there's something there. Yeah, but I accidentally encountered him already. And he's disappeared! What the frog? Control black and white? Yeah, I figured this out yesterday. Badger is still away, writhing around today. God, it looks so creepy. I'll bet another doubt and say he's dancing. Gumshoe worked really hard on that, didn't he? Speaking of dancing, the whole police department has been dancing around like crazy since yesterday.
Can I take out his batteries? I just can't help but feel he's going to do something naughty.
Why is it not letting me... Let's just walk in, it won't open, of course. So, where's our dude? Where's our dude? I'm actually at a loss.
Help!
Because that's where I want to go. I want to check out the scene of the crime. Oh, wait. Examine on tape. Duh.
There's light blinking on the monitor. It says recording. I bet we could use...
It won't let me just check out the tape? Ugh. This is the only thing about this game that drives me nuts, is I have to investigate the right thing to go. Computers be a lot tidier than I expect. Must be one of the detectives. He's mumbling something to himself. I know, the killer used a cassette tape. What a crafty trick. That gunshot was a fake. This is good. No one will ever expect the cassette tape in this day and age. He's not writing a report. He's writing a novel. Oh, permission to enter. Actually, I was wondering if I could ask you a favor. Well, I never thought the day would come when Rhino asked me for help. I was wondering if we could investigate the evidence room. There's that 1,000-yard stare again. Now, Righto. Actually, I'm sorry. I don't need to investigate after all. Righto, please. Do I look like a selfish man? Huh? Heck, if anyone asked me, sir, can I borrow $50? I'd give him $50, no problem. So go ahead. Investigate the room to your heart's content. Knock yourself out.
Just goes to show you never know till you ask.
And for you, here, you can borrow this.
Hey! This is a detective's ID card, isn't it?
That's a special card for guests, so don't lose it.
Yes, sir. It was an honor.
Now just run along and do your best now. Later, folks. Also, can you give me $50?
What a nice guy. Looks pretty cool in my lapel, doesn't it? I think it's a real ID.
You seem happy.
Yes, sir. Because, sir, we get to go into the evidence room now, sir.
I think this place is a bad influence on the girl. Okay, so I literally just had to ask the... I had to go all the way there to say that it was locked and then come all the way back. Marga, flarga, blarga, borga, florga. Why do I get the sinking feeling that he's involved? The evidence room is beyond that door.
Oh, we have the ID card from Chief Grant. Let's just walk in.
It won't open. Aha! The card reader's turned off, see?
What is the security guard thinking?
Howdy, partners. Well, well. What's made my bambina sky so gray?
Officer Marshall. Why does it have to be him?
What's that why does it have to be him look for? As you may have surmised, this here's my saloon.
We're here to investigate the crime scene.
Yeehaw! That card you got there on your chest? That's better than a sheriff's badge in these parts.
Yeehaw?
Well, what are you standing there for? Get along, little doggies. Crime scene's awaiting. Looks like the card reader's on again. While we're here, I was wondering if we could ask you some questions. Sorry, cowboy, but I got no mind to tangle with you, hombres.
You're busy then?
Did I say that? I only said I didn't wish to speak with you.
Actually, you said you had no mind to tangle with those hombres.
What if I give you a nice, juicy, probably cold and tough as nails steak?
That smell.
Reminds me of Texas.
So, Officer Marshall, you're from Texas?
No, I just saw a special on television the other day. Is this from my baby?
Yeah, Miss Starr.
What's this?
What? What's wrong?
A filet steak lunch. I see.
I don't see. Wondering what it means.
All right, Bambina, you win. Ask me. Oh, here, hang on. I've got actual food right here. Let me just go ahead and ask. Anything? Ask anything. Oh yes, one more bite, please. Oh. Crap! I took a bite that was too big.
Finally seems like he's willing to talk.
Oh. A good meal goes a long way.
Officer Marshall, you're in charge of security for the evidence room, right?
You got good eyes, partner. It's an easy job, and I'm grateful for it. Actually, it was Officer Meekins at the detention center told us. I mean, you look around and you wonder what's the first clue. Oh, that poor little doggy. They keep misspelling doggy. Poor guy, I keep getting his name wrong. Keep calling him Meekly.
He told us something. He said that when the stabbing occurred, you weren't at your station.
Well, maybe I shouldn't be telling you this. Well, since I got demoted from detective 2 years ago. Well, you might not look it, but I lost my fire for the job, you know?
So, what were you doing at 5:15 when the murder took place?
Well, I reckon I was galloping down the highway on the back of my steed, Zippy.
No, he was riding down the highway on his horse named Zippy.
There's no need for people here anyhow. These newfangled machines do a bang-up job keeping an eye on the place.
You mean the security camera system?
I don't take to machines much. Kinda like that stewed broccoli they sneak in next to your steak, you know?
Miss Starr told us something. She said that you were a detective until 2 years ago.
It was always my dream to be a rawhide and wrangler of the scene of the crime. That's all gone now, like a drinking hole in a prairie fire.
You're still investigating the Sl9 incident with Miss Starr, aren't you?
That was my case. It's all solved on the record books, but it smells like a bad game of poker. I can't let it go. That's all there is to it.
What kind of case was it, anyway? I've heard the name so many times, but no one tells us what actually happened.
There are some things you're better off not knowing, Bambina. Anyway, that case is officially dead as of 2 days ago.
2 days ago? The day of our case?
That's right. The evidence transfers.
Edgeworth was talking about the transfers too.
You know, I know maybe 2 of the machines in here do.
Only 2 of them? There must be a dozen!
Like I said, Bambina, me and machines, well, I like them about as much as I like stewed cauliflower with my steaks. The easiest ones to understand are these here security cameras.
Those are the ones that Officer Meekins mentioned.
If nothing happens, the tapes are automatically erased every few hours.
And Officer Meekins and Detective Goodman are on one of those tapes.
I reckon they might be.
You're the security guard, and you reckon?
One more thing. When you go into the evidence room, you need an ID card. Thus, the card reader by the door. The card reader leaves a record of every ID card that passes through.
Huh. So this ID card record. Hey, I've seen that somewhere before.
Sorry, Bambina, I can't show more than that.
Huh?
I haven't heard whether this is related to the case yet.
Mr. Wright, I saw a number on the record just now. I've seen that number before.
Maybe there's some way I can prove the record is tied to the stabbing. Sorry, but could you explain this whole transferal thing is about? We keep only evidence from solved cases in this room. They're kept here under the preceding detective supervision for 2 years. So that we can reinvestigate them if it turns out there was a mistake, see?
So what happens to the evidence after 2 years?
It goes to sleep forever in the underground vault of the county sheriff's department. Yawning. That's what we call transferal. We do it every February.
I see now.
Transferal is like a funeral for old cases. 2 years after a case is solved, it's closed forever. Dead. Never to be reopened again. Never to be reinvestigated.
And that happened to the Sl9 2 days ago.
Is it possible that he just stabbed himself on accident? Hold on, let me see here. Where was it? Here.
See this? This is the victim's ID card.
Ah, the one that was on the ground at the parking lot?
The number on this is 5842189. Officer Marshall, show us that ID card report again.
Yeah. There he is.
5:14 p.m. Huh?
That it was used at 5:14 right before the stabbing. What's more, there's only one of them cards in the world.
So when the incident occurred, Detective Goodman was in the evidence room.
Wait, what did Officer Meekins say?
Sir, I re-entered the evidence room and asked the man to display his ID card.
So you asked the Detective Goodman to show his ID card. What did he do?
That's the thing! Suddenly he pointed a knife at me.
If he had his ID card, then why would he have pointed a knife at Officer Meekins? Alright, compadre, you win. I guess I can give you this ID card record. If he needed that, then what? I've got an idea. Maybe I should show this list to other people. Other people with IDs here. Alright, well, in the meantime, why don't we check out the... Why don't we actually... You know, you reckon he is on here.
Sure have a lot of monitors in here.
There's 8 cameras in the evidence room and all. One for each section.
Which monitor shows the section where the crime took place?
Why do cattle sit before the rains come? It's not for a man to know.
Unless you're the security guard responsible.
Ugh, fine. I guess we're going on through. To the evidence room. And another mouthful of... Ow. It's quiet. The investigation must be over here.
So this is the evidence room? It really is kind of like a graveyard.
Graveyards are supposed to have grass and trees. This feels more like a morgue. That's what I was just thinking.
Nice try, Mr. Wright. You can't scare me.
I'm not trying to scare you, kid.
Eek!
Wow! Oh, for a minute I thought my game crashed.
Sorry, I thought you were a ghost.
I wouldn't recommend going around smacking ghosts on the head, pal. So is it true what I heard? Righto, please do look like... Please, do I look like a selfish man? Heck, if anyone asked me, sir, can I borrow $50? I'd give him $50, no problem. So go ahead, investigate the room to your heart's desire. Knock yourself out. Yeah, it's true. So Chief of Police Gant will loan anyone $50? Even me? Oh, so that's what you were talking about. Man, the man just wants to eat. Oh, I feel that. Oh. Actually, I was put in charge of the investigation for today. Just for today? Boss for a day. Guess what? You got permission from the chief. So now you're boss for a day. Gee, thanks. First of all, you'll want to have this. Evidence room floor plans. Yeah, let me take a look around here. There's something sticking out of there. Looks like a shirt. It must be evidence for some case. Wonder if Detective Gumshoe put this here. There you go, pal. Make him out to be some kind of slob. I'm not responsible for evidence in here. And that said, I bet that evidence locker was opened recently. How do you know? If you leave things hanging out like that, the evidence gets dirty or ripped. The guard checks on that kind of stuff and notifies the detective who's responsible. How many times have I had him breathing down my neck about some silly evidence? Sounds like Detective Gumshoe leaves evidence hanging around a lot, too. I bet he doesn't tuck in his shirt under that trench coat, either. If you're going to talk behind someone's back, don't do it right in front of them, pal. What sort of bulky equipment is gathering dust here? What a sorry-looking fishing pole this is. Ah, that's my personal pole. I never did get around to using it. Wait, I've seen that somewhere before. Right, pal, that's the metal detector. The one that led to the solving of the case out on Gourd Lake, remember? Oh, right. Wow, that feels like it was ages ago. And, I don't think I've seen this one before. Oh, that's a bug sweeper. I'm sure it'll come in handy solving a case sooner or later. That cheap-looking box? You can't judge a person or a machine by their cover. You gotta look at their heart. A bug sweeper? I wonder. Also, who are you talking to, Kohaku? Wanna run that by me again? Wow, look at this big pile of junk in the corner. That looks like a car door. There's a pair of handcuffs attached to the frame. Maybe the guy got caught with some sort of escape artist and he got away. That was one of those human profiles for range testing. He must have been shot square in the forehead. Better him than us. Oh, well, here we go. What the? What's this? Blood! It's a little warm, but there's definitely a handprint here. Looks like someone tried to wipe it off. Mr. Wright! What if there are other bloodstains left in the room? You should use your testing fluid to check it out. Wow, someone must have broken something big to make all those pieces. Detective Gumshoe, perhaps? There you go, pal. Make him out to be some kind of hooligan. They're apparently from the case. The case? The Sl9 Incident, pal. See the sticker in one of the pieces there? Another piece of Sl9 evidence. Let's take a closer look. I wonder what shape these pieces were in before or whatever was broke. You wanna try to put it back together? Ah, good luck, pal. That's no job for amateurs. Well, I spent a good 3 hours on that before I had to give up. That's why I always carry around a tube of glue. Well, this piece looks like the bottom. Let's try putting the rest in place. Oh, I have to actually assemble the thing? Let me see here. Oh, here. No? Oh, boy. Oh my god. I'm just gonna do this. There you go. No? I guess I'm over. No? 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 That's not anything. Fuck this thing. Try him. Fuck him up. No. Oh, bottle fits! It's gonna fits. Fits. Yay. Okay, let's lose our head. No. No. There we go. Hey, I'll be too big.
Well, I can imagine that. Here, I'll get you more pieces. And then finally... But we're still missing a piece. Huh? Well, I think we did it, but some of the pieces are missing.
Yeah, I got that far in 2 minutes myself. The problem is finishing it.
Some pieces stolen? I bet they were missing to begin with.
Still, it doesn't look like the most stable kind of jar. If you don't, I'm the top. I like how I read that as I've already solved it.
Never underestimate me when it comes to that. Ah, that felt good. I kind of understand how it got broken. Yeah, what does that have to do with a crime, though?
No, not move. I want to keep looking around.
What do you mean, aw man, you did it?
Reh. What are Saw and Paint doing here? Since the dawn of time, true art has always been a war against oppression.
True art? I noticed that there's blue and yellow paint here.
Perhaps we're witnessing the birthplace of the Blue Badger? Well, you might say this is my studio. Here, in the evidence room? Wouldn't that put him here?
Somebody left a glove here, but only one. Detective Gumshoe, maybe?
There you go, pal. Making me out to be some kind of absent-minded detective. That's evidence from the case, you know.
You mean Sl9?
Let's have a tag on it.
Look, this one's open. The red indicator light above the door's lit.
That locker is coated with Detective Goodman's fingerprint.
Detective Goodman's? Are you sure it's okay to leave it open like that?
Well, it'd be hard to get it open again if we closed it.
It's empty. They must have taken the contents elsewhere. Anything else around here? Stuffed with evidence, stuffed with dreams.
I'm not sure about dreams.
It won't open.
Did you really think it would? Hey, pal, our security's high-tech around here.
Alright, well... time to check for blood prints.
So how do I use it? That's... no. Arg. Well, I'm saying one thing speaking as a detective. If I see a piece of evidence I saw nothing about, I say nothing. Nothing! That's fine. You bet it's fine, pal.
So, wait. If you're reading this, you're a cute little bit. God damn it. That's right.
So how do I do that?
All right, hold up.
Wow. Oh, there we go. There's a lot of blood over there. Whoa. That must have been one massive pool of blood. I've never seen anything like it. I'm not a professional. What's your opinion, Detective? Pale blue blood? Maybe Detective Goodman was actually an alien? This proves that something really happened in front of this locker. I'll make note of it in the floor plans. Hey! If you didn't want my opinion, you shouldn't have asked! What about up here? No? No? I mean, I suppose there's a lot of things here that would look like blood, but... No? Oh, God! Something new to talk about? Boss for a day. So, Detective Gumshoe, you're the boss for the day? That's right. It's an honor. After all, the murder took place right here in the police department. But if you're the boss, why are you all alone? Where are your underlings? They're using yesterday's findings to prepare for tomorrow's trial. In other words, you got kicked out of the investigation again. I'm adamant, though. I'm gonna take control and put the case to rest. In my own evidence locker, pal. You have a locker in here too, Detective Gumshoe? Of course. I'm a detective after all. You gave me a locker that only I can open, pal. Only you can open? I'm sorry, I'm like starving. Wow. I always believe in Mr. Edgeworth, no matter what happens. So, Mr. Edgeworth is with the inquiry committee right now, right? They're trying to figure out who's responsible for the mess up in court today. I see. I guess it's what you call fate. Miss Edgeworth just can't get away from that case. That case? Yeah, that case! The Sl9 Incident, of course. That was the beginning of the end for Mr. Edgeworth. If we can get us to tell us more about that case. This place is more high-tech than you think. Every locker is fixed so that only one detective can open it. Yeah, we figured that out. Using their ID card? Well, that's the thing, pal. ID cards can be lost. Why, I'm on my third card since entering the force already. That sounds like a lot. Yeah, but even I can't lose my own right hand. Right hand? Oh, you mean your fingerprint? Exactly, pal. The lock for each locker is coded with a fingerprint. So the only locker we can open is our own. Who's the pretty girl? Funny, they look like normal lockers. These are the latest model. There's a trick to these handles, see? The handles? On the other side of the handles is a sensor. And if the wrong person touches it, bzap, you get a shock! If that's what happened, my hand would be black and smoking every day. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There are even some people on the force who don't know about the fingerprint locks. Huh. I suppose if they're assigned a locker, they wouldn't have to know. They would just assume they could open up their own locker. So, well, hang on. Then why was the blood print... Then why was the blood print on his locker? So... Don't mind me, pal. Or police badge, and upset. Badge?
Even an ID card would be nice.
Talk to me about this, why don't you? Detective Goodman's note on the switchblade knife. I bet Edgeworth was the most surprised of anyone. Because of the Sl9 connection? Well, that was Mr. Edgeworth's first big case, you know? 2 years ago. Well, that was the first time the world knew Edgeworth was a man to be feared.
But why would evidence from that case turn up now?
I guess it's not over, pal. Maybe there are some loose ends left on that case.
Oh yeah, here. Could you take a look at this? This is the ID card record of the people who came in here on the day of the stabbing.
Ah, I heard the rumors. So it was Goodman who came in here at the time of the murder. Whoa!
What is it? The second number! It's not your ID. It's not your ID to number, Detective Gumshoe.
Mr. Edgeworth!
What?
The second number on this list belongs to Mr. Edgeworth!
What? What? Why would Edgeworth have to come to the evidence room?
Alright, time to get the man talking. Now that was a bloody, violent case.
Violent? So it was a murder.
A serial killing!
Serial killing? Maybe I don't want to get involved in this after all.
But the killer made a mistake and Mr. Edgeworth built his case around that to nab him.
And this was 2 years ago?
That put Mr. Edgeworth right in the spotlight. And he started the rumor mill.
Rumors? About forged evidence?
It was supposed to be all cleaned up with the transferal the other day. That was the last job he ever did. Detective Goodman, that is.
Huh? What do you mean?
Detective Goodman was the detective in charge of the Sl9 incident, see?
So, that switchblade knife. The victim took it out of the evidence locker himself?
That's... Edgeworth! 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 Dang it. I think I jumped the gun on something. You know, do you have a lot of boyfriends who know about this kind of thing? No. Didn't even look at it. Okay, this has nothing to do with the case, and I'm going the wrong way. Well, it was worth a shot. I'm going back too far. Let's get back in there. Whoop. Here. On the lockers, if your fingerprints doesn't match, if you can open it, they'll give you 50 cents!
No, the police department lacks faith in its lock system.
After all, Detective Goodman was stabbed here after opening his locker. Xeshire, Switch, what's up? We're in the last case. But at the same time, he was found dead over at the prosecutor's office. Yeah, that's what doesn't add up. Off work finally. I thought you and Blue were streaming, or did you like just get off recently? Or was it just you on schedule today? I'm confused. Spectrum's ID card. These days, everything's
Notice I can never relax. Blue was streaming, I was working. Ah, gotcha. That's only because you always lose your card. I always forget my secret number, too. Scary, huh? 7:30. Oof. My face should be ID enough! What's the world coming to? Detective Gumshoe, rebel against the system. Found in Mr. Edwards' car, stabbed with Mr. Edwards' knife, huh? Who would drive the chief prosecutor's Sky to do such a thing? What? I didn't mean... Yeah, I already read all this. Ugh. So... this note... Oh my god, but... Alright, time out. What can you tell me about this, maybe? Wait... What if he was filing the lost report to take the evidence himself? Alright, let's try to get back down this road again. And here we are. This is where we found out it was Mr. Edgeworth. Alright, talk to me. God. So... who am I supposed to talk to now, then? The Blue Badger. It's my crowning achievement, my masterpiece, you might say. But art is always misunderstood, pal. Art? Standing proudly on the Day Award ceremony. So they took the Blue Badger away for a while. Really? Why? Oh, they said it was shameful or something like that. Shameful! I toiled night and day! I sympathize with Detective Gumshoe. I can see why they moved it. The Sl9 Incident. Alright. Let's take a look at this. Here we have the giant pool of blood that we found near the victim. But there wasn't a whole lot of blood in the area. So... could they have found the body could have been moved, but what the heck? Oh, Switch, to catch you up, the problem... we're investigating a murder that happened right in the prosecutor's office, and the chief prosecutor admitted to committing the murder, but we were able to stop that by proving that somehow someone, by the fact that there was a second murder in the police office right in this evidence room, and the murder just happened to be at the same time as the one that we were investigating. What's more, they weren't able to get a name, but only an identification number of the person that was killed, because they were a detective of the... they were one of the detectives. And it just so happened that their detective number matched the detective number of the person we were investigating. So somehow, our victim has died at the... was stabbed at the same time in two separate locations, more than 30 minutes apart. So, we're trying to figure out what's going on here. Something's not adding up. What if I ask him about the Sl9 incident? Sheriffs back in the Wild West didn't place much faith in evidence. The only thing they trusted was their shooting hand. It's neither wild nor west here. But that and this are two different things entirely. I guess so, huh? I'm lost. Looks like we need some evidence to get anywhere with this guy. Yeah, hold on. Not that one. Wait, what if I show him
that the murder happened in there, because I need to look at that camera. Come on. There's gotta be something here that hits differently. Come to think of it, wouldn't he have a locker? No. Ugh. What the crappity? No. Alright, fine. I'm gonna go try and find Edgeworth again. Or maybe I'm not done in here? I'm at such a loss! How quickly I go from, I know what I'm doing, to, ugh. Honestly, the investigations are more difficult than the actual, like, figuring out what happened in the courtroom. Hey. How do you prove that someone was happening? Maybe I missed something with the Luminal? Here we go. Ah, this is gonna hurt my eyes again. I'm not getting a reaction here. There's no reason for the murderer to touch the spot if he fled out the door. This might be something significant. Hey! That's some pretty amazing stuff you got there, pal! What? What, this? It's called Luminal testing fluid. Where'd you get your hands on that? Huh? I'd like to get some too! I'll just borrow 50 bucks from the chief! Where do you get this, Emma? I always buy it by mail order. Well, I'd better jot this down on the floor plans. Oh, my eyes. Okay, so... hang on. Maybe it's because I didn't have the floor plan complete? Well, alright, I guess we got what we need, so... if it all leads to Edgeworth, then... maybe now? Ah! What? What am I missing? Alright, back to the... I know that it wants me to go talk to Edgeworth, but apparently I'm about to miss something. So... what the heck? Help! If we came into that, things can't give me the permission. Why though? I'm confuzzled. Sorry, I'm genuinely, like, trying to think on what I'd be missing. Investigated all that, so... Oh. Hello. Put these pieces together, it makes a jar. Up till this point. So, like, what have I missed this stream up till this point? Oh god, I just did a recap. Yeah, I don't mind doing a second one. So, in this case, Maya has gone off to train in the mountains, so I'm kind of flying solo until this girl shows up, and she is the little sister of the chief prosecutor, who is currently not only being accused of murder, but is admitting guilt to it. And I'm trying to defend her otherwise. And the way we were able to extend the investigation is because we got a report from the chief of police that they were having trouble investigating because they had our own murder. Sorry for making you recap twice. Running around like this trying to get some things real quick before I can relax. All good. But yeah, the chief of police came in with evidence on the grounds that there was a second murder happening in the right here in the evidence room, right in the police office. So a detective was murdered here in the building of the police, no less. And at the same time, we were investigating a case where a detective was murdered in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. And someone looked like they were trying to frame Edgeworth, and instead the evidence pointed to Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye, who we're trying to defend right now. The way we were able to extend the case is by finding out that the person who was killed, seems like they're trying to cover up something big. Here's the real kicker. The murder here in the detective's office and the murder in the high prosecutor's office not only happened at the same time, and not only were they the same cause of death, but each case apparently had the same victim. So the evidence is pointing to one man being stabbed to death in two separate locations that are more than 30 minutes apart. Yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out, is how could someone die in two separate places at the same time? Dude, it doesn't seem to seal. No wonder it broke. I'll make sure to remember that next time I make a jar. Okay, so... Did I investigate everything I need to investigate? Did we get everything? Are we good? Are we done? I don't feel like spraying more luminol everywhere. Oh yeah, we have luminol now, so now we can actually investigate blood. Anything more you want to say to me? No? Can I finally... Yeah, I'll move away, hombre. I love him! I know. Let's see here. Underground parking lot. Can I talk to Edgeworth, please? God damn it, Edgeworth, where are you? Hold on. Look at that cowboy, man. He was really hot. That's how I imagine I can, like, hear your voice in my head as you say it, too. Alright, hold on. Hold on. What if, just to be funny, I'm just gonna be funny here. Yeah, I'm spraying your house with luminol. Have fun with the smell, Edgeworth. Okay, cool. I guess you're fine. That means I missed something, though. What the heck? Pretty much, yeah. Alright, well, here, you get some lucky for you, big guy. You get to see him again. There you go. There he is. And hold on. You're gonna love this. Right back here is a sign that says Texas. This man is proudly Inspired by Texas and all things Texas. It be that Japanifornia here. All right. I give up. Where's a guide? I need help. And I'm not gonna look ahead, I just want to see where I missed something. Hi, Cowboy Man! Hi, Blue, I thought you were streaming! Did you have a good one? I'm still recording. I've been recording for 2 hours because I can't find the freaking... Editor, don't let YouTube know that I looked up a guide. I ended a minute ago for sleep deprivation, Luminal. Oh, hon. Goodman's note to Angel. Show the crime photo to Angel. Yeah. Okay. Criminal Affairs, talk to Grant. Yeah, Gant is gone. Yeah, wait until you see Gant. Blue, I think Gant might be more up your alley. He got them big man vibes. Open the locker, examine the glove. Rubber glove out of the court record, examine the insurance, choose to take a closer look. With yellow tape, spray the handprint. Spray the locker. Did I just not spray the obvious handprint? Is that the only thing I didn't do? Alright, time to take away the cowboy. To the detective. And time to blind everyone again. Really? I thought I hit examine. I knew it! This is someone's right handprint. What? What's the matter, detective? This locker. It's mine! It's yours? Please! You have to help me when they come take me away. Promise you'll testify that I wouldn't harm a fly. There, I guess that's what I was missing. You'll do that for me, won't you, pals? This is an important clue. I'll jot it down on the floor plans. I'm counting on you guys. Believe me, you can't trust the police. What? But you're a detective. Hey, pal, look at the time. Is there some thing you need to be going to? It's just that Mr. Edgeworth's inquiry committee should be letting out soon. I'm going to give them my report for the day. It might help, you know? Report? You mean the note written on the back of that flyer? The one that says nothing but no problems? Hey, it's Mr. Edgeworth we're talking about. I'm sure he can use a report like this. I believe in him. Who needs enemies when you've got friends like Detective Gumshoe? I'm off, pal. Later. I should probably see what Edgeworth has to say, too. There we go. That's what I wanted. Howdy, partner. Goodbye, partner. Alright. Get me to the underground parking lot. Hello, S&M, honey. Finally, we got Edgeworth. Oh my god, that took way too long. I need Big Mendum. I'm here. Is what I do. Just saying. Not to call myself out or nothing, but... Oh shit, I'm recording. Cut this out. February 23rd, High Prosecutor's Office, Room 1202. Ah, guess my the fuck are you doing here? Oh, it's you! Have we met somewhere? Huh? Mr. Edgeworth, I beg your leave. So long. I'm not Mr. Edgeworth.
Is Edgeworth here? There, standing by the window, a teacup in his hand.
This mofo.
Right. He has the hotel bring him tea service? Mr. Edgeworth, you're back from the district prosecutor's office inquiry? I am. By the way, Detective Gumshoe was looking for you.
Oh, that was me reading that.
Ah, yes. He brought me the latest information, it seems. Really? Was it helpful? Apparently, a new French restaurant is opening near here. I think he was trying to console me somehow.
Forgot my earbuds again. Oof. Also, can I just say, Edgeworth smiling somehow gives me life. Look at that smile. That awkward smile.
The real info's on the other side,
Edgeworth. Yeah, I'll be back, big man. I gotta run to the corner store real quick. Go get them darts.
Poor Mr. Edgeworth. I think this whole thing's really taking a toll on him.
Well, we got a couple things we need to talk to you about.
So how did the inquiry committee go? Actually, they decided to treat this not as a case of concealing evidence, but as a communications error during the investigation. Concealing evidence? Yes, apparently there are some who believe that I concealed evidence. They gave me a warning. You were lucky this time, again. Again? I've heard them say that so many times. Ever since that case 2 years ago.
Okay, tomorrow's trial.
Are you okay for the trial tomorrow? Well, I'm still presiding prosecuting attorney. However, something happened. They gave control of the investigation over to the police department. The police department? Yes. Any further investigation for this case will be directed by Chief of Police Gant. I can do nothing but wait for his results. I see. Why ask you? Why? All along, I've done only what I believe is right. I have nothing to be ashamed of. But still. Wow, I've never seen him so out of sorts. About the Sl9 incident. Can you talk to me about it? Yeah, here. Can we talk about this? I know you. You've probably got a hold of some information already, right? It all has to do with that case you were on, the Sl9 incident. And some dark suspicion that you were wrapped up in. You're the man who's revived the worst memory of my life. I figured I'd be telling you about this sooner or later. You must be talking about his father's murder in that elevator. Okay, Edgeworth, why don't you tell me about it? Tell me the truth. Allegations of forgery. The Sl9 incident was a heinous serial killing case. The head of the investigation was the deputy chief of police at the time, Damon Gant. I don't know why I keep wanting to call him Grant. That wacky old coot was involved in the case 2 years ago, then? He was a top officer, and it was my first time working with him. I was nervous. Wow, you get nervous too, Mr. Edgeworth? What I want to know is why the deputy chief of police was on the investigation. In truth, I used slightly more extreme methods than normal. We were dealing with a vicious murderer. If I let him go, the blood would be on my hands. We won our guilty verdict, and the killer was executed. Wait, you didn't... Of course not. I didn't touch the evidence. Yes, I will do anything in my power to win a trial. However, I do have a code, and I follow it faithfully. Then, talk to me about this. Oh, right! I better check this now. As I was saying, What's this? A record of ID card usage? Edgeworth, you went into the evidence room that day, didn't you? Just before the incident occurred, no less. Yes, that's true.
Why, Mr. Edgeworth?
Please don't look at me like that. I was asked to go. By Chief Gant, no less.
Chief of Police?
He wanted evidence for a case that wrapped up half a year ago. He told me he wanted to keep it here in the prosecutor's office.
But it was solved, right? It would have to be if the evidence was already filed.
The chief is never one to explain himself.
Things are starting to turn against this chief here.
In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here.
Can I ask what kind of case it was?
I can't say. It really has nothing to do with the current case.
Now I'm curious about this other case. I'd better make a note of it. The AI-16. Factual's office at Gant's request. Stubborn as always. I told you this has nothing to do with the current case. By the way, Emma, Chief Prosecutor wanted to know something.
My sister! What?
If you are still studying forensic science...
Huh? Yes, of course! Why, just today, Mr. Wright and I were using this!
Luminal testing fluid, huh? Well then, you might have use for this.
Aluminum powder for taking fingerprints!
It's been chemically treated for better adhesion.
For me? Are you sure? You're the enemy, you know.
I've no say in today's investigation. Do as you will. Edgeworth, I'm really no need to thank me. Here, take your powder and those fingerprint files for everyone involved.
Thanks. How about giving these to Detective Gumshoe as well?
Prints from handprints for comparison with fingerprint file.
Let's get going. One last investigation.
Right. I do seem to remember seeing a suspicious handprint somewhere.
Yeah, back in the evidence room. Oh, I gotta go make this long journey again. Arf. And here. Where's everyone gone?
Our investigation turned up a suspicious handprint.
Here's the blood on the detective's evidence locker.
Let's use the secret weapon we just borrowed.
Right, let's get started. First, choose a finger.
A finger?
Each finger leaves behind a slightly different imprint. So let's choose the finger that will have left behind the clearest print.
I can't really tell at first glance.
Quit procrastinating and choose a finger.
Right here, the thumb.
Okay, now it's time to check for fingerprints. Let me show you how it's done.
Emma's starting to get that sparkle in her eyes.
First, we sprinkle the aluminum powder around.
Huh? How do you do that?
With enter. See?
Ah. It looks like that just did the trick.
And the aluminum powder adheres completely to the print. Once the powder is well spread, just blow away the excess.
Oh, this must have been like on the DS.
Look at that. With E. Exciting, I know. You're blowing out the candles on a birthday cake. See?
Wow, that looks like fun. Might take some getting used to, though.
It's fine. It won't go up your nose or anything. You just pour the powder on thick and blow away the extra. Those are the basics of fingerprinting, Mr. Wright.
So I better give it a try. I'll just do this. Because I can't see anything anyway. Oop.
Ah, you did it! You found one! But this looks nothing like a fingerprint. Now that you mention it, it doesn't. What does it mean?
I think it means we're out of luck.
I think it means we're out of luck.
Out of luck?
So if this handprint must have worn gloves. Don't tell me we've been wasting our time here. Hey, calm down. That's just the way it goes sometimes with scientific investigations. But it does seem a shame. While we're at it, why don't we just look for other prints? Other prints? Look at the locker door again closely. Seems like there are fingerprints outside the bloody handprints as well. Let's see where we can find a clear print.
Prints outside of the blood. Here? Just tap away and blow. Ah! Oh, this is just really gonna make me like rapidly click like. Oh, here. Let me just. There! Sheesh!
Yeah, print's so clear it's dazzling.
Dazzling?
Anyway, this print looks like took a lot of effort to find. Let's match it up right away.
So we're not done yet? This is quite a process.
There's no point in finding a fingerprint and not knowing who the owner is, right?
I guess she's right.
Look at the fingerprint data from Mr. Edgeworth.
Hello, how are you? Hey Nova, welcome back!
The person who you think left these prints.
How am I supposed to know who it was?
I can make a pretty good guess. The bloody handprint and the fingerprints are in different places, right? Means that the prints don't have anything to do with our case. So whose fingerprints would we most likely find in this evidence locker?
Oh. Detective Gumshoe. I'm here for stream and I'm going to play FNF in the back. Ooh, have fun.
Aha! Aha! So these prints belong to Detective Gumshoe. Something wrong, Mr. Wright?
Give me this so what look. It's his locker. I guess it's probably because I was thinking, so what?
Came with nothing this time, but there's always next time. Sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss. Gotta roll with the punches, Mr. Wright.
Thanks for the sympathy. Wait, if I remember correctly, there was one other handprint in this room. Let's check it out. Yeah, right here. FNF, so they had the mid. Oh. Yeah, this feels like this would have been used on the 2DS. Sheesh. Ugh. Yeah, right here though, wasn't it? This is where we had a luminal fluid reaction, right? There has to be a handprint here. Okay, wanna try using it? Here goes the ice sparkling prints. Let's check it out. The area with the blood was wiped away, right? We only ended up finding it using chemical means. Which means the area will have been wiped away too. Oh, right. So that means no prints. Would you say this hypothesis aside? Don't ask me!
Anyway, we must try to find prints that weren't wiped away.
So then no one's left behind the bloody hand. Here? Where else would they be? Hello? What's this? I'm gonna play the Neko Freak mod instead. Well, may as well just, like, dust the whole thing.
There's dust is everywhere!
Hello. I gave it my best shot. The end result won't be any good for matching fingerprints, will it? It doesn't look like we'll get a clear result from this print. Let's try a different finger then. Okay, that was over here. Maybe... Yes, I'm actually, like, scanning.
That's where I was, so... Right here? Thank you for the lurk. I'm going to play with all the mods. But what's the Neko Freak mod? I'm curious now. Ah! Here we go. Okay, now... I'm sorry, what? No? Dang, who else would have been in? Hello? We got a match. Jake? The cowboy? Prince, they... Whose are they? Whose? Is it someone I know? It's Officer Marshall. Huh? Officer Jake Marshall? Huh. This has gotta be a coincidence! He's not involved in the crime! Emma. This is decided evidence from Detective Gumshoe's prints. Gumshoe's prints. The Luminal reaction. The blood and fingerprints are in the same place. Oh! So we have Jake Marshall's fingerprints. On a wiped blood stain. But why would Officer Marshall? Looks like our investigation's finally turning up some results. I guess this is what you'd call decisive evidence. I don't believe it!
Whoa. Oh my god. First of all, I had to look way too hard for that. Second off, could it be the cowboy? I guess we'll find out in court. Until then, for the lovely folks at YouTube, this is Xeshire the Cat, signing off. See you in the next episode.